What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel, Wealth Hacker Labs. I'm your gracious host, Jeff Rose. It is Monday, it is June the 1st, and I've got another economic stimulus check update for you. And what we're talking about today is the second check, the check that many are still wondering, is it going to happen? Is it a myth? Is it fact? Is it fiction? Well, we're going to answer some of those questions today. But before we get started, I just want to address, just all the craziness that's going on right now in our country. It is by far one of the saddest occurrences in our country's history. Just George Floyd, him losing his life unnecessarily, and just all the protesting and the looting and just all the stuff that's going on. And if any of you are in these areas that are being affected, like my heart goes out to you. I live here in the Nashville area, and just seeing like what's happening in our city and just happening in cities all across the country. You know, you got COVID-19, coronavirus, like that. If that wasn't enough, now we have all of this. And the only thing I could hope for is change, some sort of change. And that all happens in your homes. A lot of people put on the politicians that they have to put these policies in place. They have, yeah, fine, whatever. But the reality is that it starts in your home. It starts with you, your heart, how you're addressing this with your family, with your kids, with your loved ones, with your neighbors, with your friends. That's where it starts. So I just hope that if you haven't had a conversation with your loved ones, this is the time. This is the time to address what is going on in our country, because we are better than this. We are founded on principles that are better than this. And anyway, I just wanted to address that, because how can you not? Like anyone, I have been consumed by media over the past several days, and just even this morning, just seeing some of the protests and just seeing just the riots and just more people getting hurt. And anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on that, because it will, there's just a lot of hurt right now, and my heart goes out to you. But now we're talking about the HEROES Act, the second $1,200 stimulus check that many are still waiting to see. And right now, so it's June the 1st, Congress has been on recess for the past week. They are back. But obviously, there's been a lot of developments, not so much in the stimulus bill and progress there, but just everything that's going on with all the protests and everything. It's just, there's a lot of unrest and there's a lot of stuff going on. So my unfortunate fear is that this is only going to push back the HEROES Act and them having their deliberations and their discussions. In a previous video, I had mentioned that I felt that if things progress, that we could have seen a second check being issued sometime in the middle of July. And I can only imagine this is going to push it back even further. I hope that I'm not right in that assessment. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope it happens sooner. But just based off what we've seen with the CARES Act, and that was just dealing with the pandemic, the coronavirus and COVID-19, now we're dealing with that and then some. But here's some of the updates that I've seen, just so we can kind of get you up to speed on what I know right now. So first and foremost, I'm still seeing in the comments that many of you are still waiting on your first economic stimulus check. So here we are talking about a second check, which is probably just disgust to your ears when you're still waiting to get your first check. And one of the things I want to remind you is that if you haven't received your first check yet, and if you haven't at least utilized some of the resources that are available to you, first and foremost, here's an example, is that on the IRS's website, they have a toll-free number that you can call. Now, the funny thing is that to actually find this toll-free number, it wasn't easy to find. And this is something that was recently added to the FAQ section. And I will have a link to this page in the show notes so that you can try giving a call. But here is the number here. If you go to this page and make sure that is, all right, yeah, that is big enough. I'll see if I can enlarge it so you can actually see the phone number there. But the phone number is 1-800-919-9835. And it was a few weeks ago that the IRS added additional phone support. I think it was over 3,000 employees for economic impact payments. They were hired solely for this purpose, to answer your questions about this. Now, I don't know how trained they are or how qualified they are. I have this fear that they're probably just reading from a script, just some basic questions. And if you press them for anything that's more specific, they'll probably just give you a lot of general advice and not really answering the question that you need. I hope I'm wrong in that. I've seen some people comment in the comments here, sharing their experience, and that they have help. They've received some help by calling this the IRS. So once again, that telephone number here is 1-800-919-9835. That's the number. I'll have a link to this page and also include the phone number itself in the description. So if you didn't get a chance to write it down, I'll have it there as a resource as well. So that's one thing. If you're still waiting on that check, pick up the phone, make a call to see if you can get an answer, if you can find out what the status is on your first $1,200 check, or if it's more if you're married and you've got dependents. Now, the other thing that that also has been announced, which I'm not sure if I'm as excited about this, but because this topic of where is my first check, and there's just been so many incidents, so many issues, people receiving their first check. So it was recently announced that really with the second check coming from the IRS, as the headline here says, second round of stimulus checks will be paper or direct deposit again. And we've just had so much issues with that. You have the prepaid debit cards, which I guess they're trying to, try something new, or that's maybe trying to lay the framework, for some sort of new program that they'll be unrolling out for future, tax returns and stimulus payments. Like there's some speculation on that, but as you can see, like if the second check does get proposed, or not just proposed, but if it does get passed, don't expect a different delivery system. That being said, if you didn't have your direct deposit information in place prior to the checks going out, like this would be an excellent time to get all that set up. If somehow they had the wrong bank information, even though you had it right, I know there's some people that were struggling with that. In that case, make sure that it gets corrected if you can. So anything that you can do to prepare yourself in the event that the HEROES Act passes and there is a second wave of checks, that you have all of that set up, because that's just going to make it so much easier. And I know the frustrating part is that many people thought they had the right address. They thought they had the right bank account number. And still, because I guess an old account number or an old address was in the system, it went to the wrong place. Hopefully now, if the HEROES Act passes and you have a second stimulus check coming your way, you can get all that information updated. I'm crossing my fingers here. I'm hoping because right now, hope is about all we got. All right, the final thing I wanted to share is that I came across a few different links, a few different articles that were sharing about how to calculate your second stimulus check payment. And I just want to share this with you because I saw this, and at first I was like, wait a second. And this is one site, I think this is Michigan Live. This is their website. There are others out there that are also have this calculator. But as you can see, headline here is use this calculator to see how big your second stimulus payment could be. And that's the key word, is could be. I wish that'd be in quotations, maybe like in bold, all caps, because this is basing on the HEROES Act that, once again, has not passed yet. This is not law. This is not, they're just waiting for the IRS to print the checks or produce the prepaid debit cards. Like, this hasn't happened yet. But nonetheless, we've got some sites here that are sharing their second stimulus check calculator, the HEROES Act. But then again, if you are curious, if the bill were to pass in its current form, you could come down here and say, hey, I am married and I've got 3, not 30, wow, that'd be a lot of kids. I've got 3 dependents and I'm making $65,000 per year. And that shows that I could receive $6,000. So in case you didn't know, the reason that would be $6,000 because based on the current numbers, the current figures on the HEROES Act, that's $1,200 per individual. So husband and wife, $2,400, and then $1,200 for each kid. And just in case this is the first time that you are familiar with these rules, if you have, say, 5 kids, let's see if this actually updates correctly. Did it? Yeah, okay. So good, it did. Because if you have 5 dependents, you're only going to get credit for 3. You're not going to get an extra $2,400 for the 2 extra kids. So you still be capped off at that $6,000. Once again, that's assuming that this is passed. Hasn't passed yet. We're still waiting. Still waiting for Senate I mean, they're in session today, waiting for them to look it over. There's still a lot of pushback from the Republicans on just the well, losing my words here, but on the unemployment insurance. Like, that's the big one. Extending unemployment insurance for an extended period of time. And we've talked about that in previous videos because Rob, I think Portman was his name, he proposed the Get Back to Work bonus for those that just basically giving them a reward for going back to work. And that's anywhere from $400 a week on up to, I think, $600 a week, somewhere in that range. And the time estimate is not really determined yet, but basically just giving some people an incentive to go back to work instead of staying home and collecting unemployment insurance. But these are all the different bills that are currently out there being looked at, being reviewed to see which one is going to make the most sense for the American population. It's going to make the most sense based on what is going on right now, not just now, obviously, with the coronavirus and COVID-19, but also what's going on with just all the riots and the looting and just all the civil unrest that we're seeing, that we're witnessing. So for those of you that, if you are one that have a higher power that you answer to, right now, I would just encourage you to pray. Pray for our country. Pray for all those that are hurt, that are affected right now. It's a sad time, and I've definitely taken this opportunity to just have some real conversations with my kids. Have a conversation with our neighbors just about what's going on. And what can we do? Like, what are the things that we can do to invoke change? One thing I don't want to do is be passive and just put my hands up and say, "Oh, I can't do anything. I wasn't involved. I'm not there." Like, I don't want to take that stance, because apathy is not the right answer right now. The right answer is to do something. But the first something that you can do is just start having those real conversations. All right, y'all. Hope you enjoyed this video. I don't even feel like closing it with my usual outro, but I've got more videos coming your way. So if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe, and I appreciate you. Talk to you all soon. Peace.